Zuri, Mika, and Celeste are crammed into a tiny Seoul street food stall at midnight, 3 weeks into their documentary trip, slightly lost, slightly tipsy on soju, and completely obsessed with the city. Mika is doing a dramatic retelling of how she almost got scammed at Namdimon Market. Celeste is stress-eating tteokbokki and triple-checking their filming permits on her phone. Zuri has her camera out, she always has her camera out, filming the streets, the lights, the beautiful chaos of Seoul at night. She pounds the camera slowly down the alley. And she freezes. 3 black SUVs. Men in dark suits stepping out with the kind of stillness that doesn't belong on a street this loud. And in the center of all of it, Seon-ho. Tall, cold-eyed, tattooed hands visible beneath his pushed-up sleeves, looking like something the city itself is afraid of. For 3 full seconds, through her camera lens, he looks directly at her. Not at the camera. At her. Mika leans over and whispers, "Zuri. Baby. Put the camera down." Celeste has already grabbed her bag. I have been saying we pick a different documentary topic for 6 weeks. But Zuri doesn't lower the camera. She zooms in. And that one moment of fearless curiosity, is the exact second Seon-ho decides she is either the most interesting or most foolish woman he has ever seen. His right-hand man Byung-soo moves to handle it. Seon-ho raises one hand. Stops him. He watches her for one more breath. Then he gets into his car and disappears into the Seoul night. By morning, Zuri's documentary crew has received an anonymous media access approval to film inside a legitimate business front connected to the most dangerous man in the city. Celeste calls it a trap. Mika calls it fate. Zuri calls it the best story she's ever been handed. They are all correct. Please like and subscribe to this channel if this story got you hooked. Drop a comment letting us know where you are watching from. The address arrives as a plain card slipped under their hotel room door at 6 a.m. No name. No explanation. Just a Seoul address and 3 words printed in clean, cold ink. 9 a.m. Don't late. Celeste holds the card like it's a piece of evidence. This is how true crime documentaries start. We are literally the first episode. Mika is already picking out her outfit. If I die in Seoul, at least I die pretty. Zuri is already dressed. The address leads them to Seonghwa Group, a sleek, glass-faced entertainment and property conglomerate sitting in the heart of Gangneom. Beautiful. Legitimate looking. The kind of building that cost more per floor than most people earn in a lifetime. A stone-faced assistant meets them at the entrance and leads them through marble lobbies and silent elevators without a single word. Byung-soo is waiting on the top floor. He looks at Zuri's camera. Then at Zuri. Then at Mika and Celeste standing behind her like backup dancers who know they picked the wrong gig. Only the filmmaker, he says flatly. Mika steps forward. She doesn't go anywhere without. It's okay, Zuri says quietly, already moving forward. Celeste grabs her wrist. Zuri. Zuri squeezes her hand once. Reassuring. Fearless. Or at least performing fearless well enough to convince them both. She follows Byung-soo alone. The office at the top of the building is not what she expects. No flashy displays of power. No gold or guns or theatrical darkness. It is almost aggressively minimal, dark wood, floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the Seoul skyline, a single desk, a single chair behind it. And Seon-ho. He is standing at the window with his back to her when she enters, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a phone he sets down the moment she walks in. He is wearing a dark-fitted shirt with the sleeves rolled up and every tattoo she glimpsed in that alley the night before is visible now in full daylight, sharp black ink trailing up both forearms, disappearing under fabric, telling stories she can't yet read. He turns around. Up close he is more dangerous than the lens made him look. Not because of the tattoos or the stillness or the way Byung-soo stands near the door like a loaded weapon. But because of his eyes, dark, still, and completely unbothered. The eyes of a man who has never once in his life been nervous. Zuri raises her camera instinctively. May I? She asks. A long pause. No, he says. His English is clean, accented, precise. She lowers it. Unbothered. Then I'll just have to remember everything. Something moves behind his eyes. The smallest thing. Not a smile, Seon-ho does not smile. But something adjacent to curiosity. He gestures to the chair across his desk. She sits. He sits. And for the first time in longer than he can remember, Seon-ho finds himself across from someone who is not afraid of the silence he lets stretch between them like a test. Zuri lets it stretch right back. Finally, why did you give us access? My company has a clean record, he says simply. A documentary benefits us. Your company, she repeats, and the way she says it, not mocking, just precise, tells him she already knows the word company is doing a lot of work in that sentence. What were you filming last night? He asks. So. The street. The light. A bit. You. Why didn't you stop when you saw me? She tilts her head slightly. Curls shift against her shoulder. Why would I? Another silence. This one feels different. Charged in a way the room wasn't 30 seconds ago. Most people do, he says. I'm not most people, Zuri says. Not arrogantly. Just factually. The way someone states their own name. Seon-ho looks at her for a long, unreadable moment. Then he picks up his phone, signals to Byung-soo that the meeting is over, and stands. Filming begins Monday, he says. Ground floor operations only. Nothing else. And if I find something worth filming on another floor? He pauses at the edge of the desk. Looks down at her. Then you have found something that gets your documentary cancelled, he says quietly. And your trip ended. He leaves before she can respond. Zuri sits in the empty office for a moment, heart beating slightly faster than normal, camera resting in her lap. She smiles to herself. Small. Private. This man, she thinks, is absolutely going to be the best story she's ever told. The first week of filming is a careful, choreographed performance. Seon-ho's legitimate business is genuinely impressive: property development, entertainment management, tech investment. If Zuri didn't know what hummed beneath the surface, she might almost believe that's all there was. Byung-soo follows her camera like a hawk. Every room she enters, he's already in it. Every question she asks a staff member, he appears at their shoulder before they finish answering. On day 3, Zuri turns around and finds him directly behind her. Do you want to be in the shot? She asks pleasantly. Because you're already in most of them. I want to know, Byung-soo says slowly, who sent you? My production company. I have the paperwork. Who sent you? He repeats. Quieter. More dangerous. Zuri holds his gaze. Nobody sent me. I came. He stares at her for a long moment. Then steps aside. But he doesn't stop watching. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Celeste has been doing what Celeste does. Research. She spreads everything across the hotel bed: printed articles, translated news pieces, financial records she pulled through legal channels. Mika sits cross-legged eating room service, looking genuinely unbothered until Celeste slides a photograph across the bed. Seon-ho. Younger. Standing next to a man at some formal event. The man next to him is smiling. Seon-ho is not. That man beside him, Celeste says, disappeared 8 months after this photo was taken. Along with 2 of Chairman Ho's associates. Mika stares at the photo. Okay, she says slowly. So he's fine and dangerous. That's somehow worse. We need to tell Zuri, Celeste says. Zuri already knows, Mika says quietly. That's why she's not scared. She thinks she can film the story without getting pulled into it. Celeste looks at the photo again. Nobody films that man without getting pulled in. It's late. The building has emptied. Zuri stays behind to review footage on her laptop in the ground floor media room she's been assigned. She always works late. It's a problem Mika has complained about since college. She doesn't hear him come in. She doesn't know Seon-ho is standing in the doorway watching her walk until she reaches up absently to push her curls out of her face and catches his reflection in the dark window glass beside her. She doesn't flinch. Doesn't gasp. Just turns her head slowly. He's in his shirt again, sleeves rolled, tie loosened, the only version of undone she suspects this man ever allows himself. He's holding 2 cups of coffee. He sets one on the table beside her laptop without a word. She looks at the cup. Then up at him. You didn't strike me as someone who makes coffee runs, she says. I didn't make it, he says, I brought it. Very important distinction. He almost smiles. The corner of his mouth moves a fraction. She catches it and files it away like footage she knows she'll need later. He looks at her screen. Raw footage of his building, his staff, the careful ordinary surface of his empire. What do you see, he asks, when you look through a camera? She considers the question seriously. The thing behind the thing people want you to see. A pause. And what's behind what I want you to see, he asks. His voice is low. The room is quiet. The Seoul skyline glitters through the glass behind him and he looks, in this light, less like a devil and more like something that was built to survive things most people couldn't imagine. Zuri looks at him for a long moment. I don't know yet, she says honestly. But I will. Seon-ho holds her gaze for 3 full seconds, and in those 3 seconds something shifts. Something that cannot be unshifted. He picks up his own coffee. Walks to the door. Go home, Zuri, he says quietly, her name in his mouth for the very first time, and somehow it sounds different than when anyone else says it. Good night, Seon-ho, she replies. He pauses at the door. Just briefly. Then he's gone. Zuri exhales slowly. Picks up the coffee he brought her. Takes a sip. Down the hall, in the security room, Byung-soo watches the camera feed of the now empty media room and says nothing for a very long time. Then, she's going to be a problem. Tae-young, leaning against the wall beside him, watches the same feed. Watches Seon-ho's retreating figure in the corridor camera. For who? Tae-young says quietly. Byung-soo doesn't answer. Because he's not entirely sure anymore. Chairman Ho's world is built on information. He is 67 years old, silver-haired, and surgically patient in the way that only men who have outlived all their enemies can afford to be. He sits in his private club in Itaewon every Thursday evening, drinking the same Japanese whiskey, receiving the same reports from the same 3 sources he has trusted for 20 years. This Thursday, the report is different. His man slides a photograph across the table. Printed from security footage, grainy but clear enough. Seon-ho in a corridor. A woman walking beside him. Not behind him, not escorted. Beside him. And on Seon-ho's face, not a smile, not warmth exactly, but an absence of the coldness that Chairman Ho has spent 6 years studying like a map he cannot crack. Chairman Ho picks up the photograph. Looks at it for a long time. Who is she? American. Documentary filmmaker. Brown. Curly hair. Came with 2 friends. A pause. He gave her access himself. Chairman Ho sets the photograph down carefully. He's never given anyone access, he says quietly. No, sir. He has not. The old man picks up his whiskey. Takes one slow sip. Find out everything about her, he says. Where she eats. Where she sleeps. Who she loves. He sets the glass down. Every devil has one thing he cannot afford to lose. I've been waiting 6 years to find his. He slides the photograph into his jacket pocket. I think I just did. Nobody told Mika she couldn't explore. Technically Zuri's access was limited to the ground floor of Seon-ho group. Technically Mika was not even supposed to be in the building at all. But Celeste had gone back to the hotel to compile research, and Mika had decided that sitting in the lobby of a building owned by Seoul's most dangerous man was actually fine and normal, and she would simply look around a little. She finds the door on the 3rd floor entirely by accident. It's slightly open. She can hear voices, low, tense, speaking rapid Korean she can't fully follow. But she catches 3 things. A name. A number. And the word shipment in English dropped casually into the Korean like a stone into still water. Mika backs away very slowly. Then she turns around and walks directly into Byung-soo. They stare at each other. I am lost, Mika says immediately. Completely and totally lost. I was looking for a bathroom. The bathroom, Byung-soo says flatly, is on the ground floor. I came up here by accident. This floor requires a keycard. A pause. I found it in the elevator, Mika says. Byung-soo stares at her with the expression of a man counting to 10 in his head in multiple languages. He escorts her back downstairs personally. Silently. With the energy of a man who has added Mika to a list of problems he is managing. Mika texts Celeste from the lobby. Found something. Also almost died. Regular Tuesday. Celeste replies in under 4 seconds. Mika, what did you do? That evening, Zuri gets a call from Byung-soo directly. First time he has ever called her. Control your friends, he says. Mika is a force of nature, Zuri says carefully. I manage her, I don't control her. Then manage her better, he says. This building is not a tourist attraction. He hangs up. Zuri stares at her phone. Then turns to Mika, who is sitting on the hotel bed eating chips with the expression of someone who has absolutely nothing to confess. Mika. I found something, Mika says immediately, dropping the innocent act. 3rd floor. Zuri, it sounded like a deal. A real one. Not the coffee company stuff. Celeste looks up from her laptop. I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. I packed extra clothes because I knew. How many extra clothes? Mika asks. Enough to stay 2 extra weeks if we get detained. You're the best friend I have ever had, Mika says sincerely. Both of you stop, Zuri says. She is standing very still in the middle of the room, thinking. Camera instinct and journalist brain running simultaneously. Mika, tell me exactly what you heard. Word for word. Mika tells her. Zuri is quiet for a very long time after. Then, we keep filming. Normally. We don't change anything. Zuri, Celeste starts. I know, Zuri says quietly. I know what I'm doing. She believes that when she says it. She is about to find out how wrong she is. It is Taeyong who cracks first. Not because he is weak, Taeyong is far from weak. But because he has been watching Zuri work for 2 weeks, and something about her relentlessness, her honesty, the way she talks to everyone in the building like they are equally worth her attention, it reminds him of something the organization bled out of him a long time ago. He finds her in the building courtyard during lunch, sitting alone reviewing footage, curls pulled up, brow furrowed in that focused way she gets. He sits across from her without being invited. She looks up. Taeyong, she says, surprised. Most of Seon-ho's people don't voluntarily sit near her. Your Korean is getting better, he says. I've been practicing. She tilts her head. You're not supposed to talk to me informally, are you? He smiles. It is a good smile, younger than everything else about him. Hyung would say no. Hyung meaning Seon-ho. He'd hate that you said his name that casually. Does he? Zuri says, and something in her voice is just slightly too careful. Taeyong studies her. Can I ask you something? You're already sitting here. Why aren't you afraid of him? Zuri is quiet for a moment. She looks down at her camera. Turns it over in her hands the way she does when she's thinking. I'm not afraid, she says finally. I just think fear is the least interesting response to someone like him. Taeyong stares at her. What's the most interesting response? He asks. She looks up. Curiosity. Taeyong is quiet for a moment. Then, he watches the camera feeds at night. Zuri goes very still. The ones in the building, Taeyong adds quickly. Asterisk the work floors. It's security. He always does it. Asterisk a pause. But lately he pauses on the media room floor longer than anywhere else. He stands up. Straightens his jacket. I didn't tell you that, he says simply. And walks away. Zuri sits in the courtyard for a long time after. The Seoul sun is warm on her face and her heart is doing something complicated and inconvenient in her chest. He watches, she thinks. She picks up her camera. So do I. Nobody warned Zuri about Mrs. Song. She arrives on a Wednesday with no announcement, a sleek woman in her late 50s, dressed in quiet, expensive grey, with Seon-ho's same dark eyes and none of his coldness. She walks through the building like she built it with her own hands. Staff straighten without being told. Even Byung-soo, terrifying, unreadable Byung-soo, gives her a respectful bow that looks almost tender. Zuri is filming the atrium when Mrs. Song stops directly in front of her camera. You must be the American, she says in perfect English. Zuri, she says, lowering the camera. Yes. Mrs. Song looks at her the way women who have survived extraordinary things look at other women, measuring not beauty or status but substance. Walk with me, she says. It is not a question. They walk the building's garden terrace. Seoul spreads below them. Mrs. Song asks questions that sound casual and land precise, about Zuri's family, her work, what made her come to Korea, what she thinks of the city. Zuri answers honestly. She always answers honestly. It is both her best quality and her most dangerous one. My son, Mrs. Song says eventually, has not given a journalist access to anything in 8 years. I know, Zuri says carefully. He also doesn't bring people coffee. Zuri pauses mid-step. Mrs. Song keeps walking, unbothered, a small elegant smile at the corner of her mouth. Taeyong talks too much. He always has. Mrs. Song. I'm not warning you away, the older woman says simply. I want to be clear about that. I've been trying to warn that boy toward something real for years. She pauses at the terrace railing. Looks out at the city. I'm simply telling you, when my son lets someone in, it is not halfway. It is not casual. She turns to look at Zuri directly. So be sure, child. Before this goes further. Be very sure. Zuri holds her gaze. What if I'm already not sure? She asks quietly. Mrs. Song's smile deepens into something genuine and a little sad and full of recognition. Then you're already in it, she says gently. She pats Zuri's hand once and goes back inside. Zuri stands on the terrace alone. Wind moving through her curls. City humming 40 floors below. Her camera hangs at her side unfired for the first time all day. It starts with a phone call Zuri is not supposed to hear. She is working late again, it has become a habit, these late nights in the media room, and she is honest enough with herself now to admit it is not only about the footage. She is in the corridor walking to the elevator when she hears Seon-ho's voice through a door left open a precise inch, sharp, low, cold in a way she hasn't heard since the very first day. She doesn't stop walking. She is careful. Professional. But she hears enough. A name. Director Kwon. And a question, Seon-ho's voice, dangerous and quiet, how long has she been working for him? Zuri stops breathing. She makes it to the elevator. Gets inside. Presses ground floor. Her reflection stares back at her from the mirrored elevator doors, curls, camera, expression completely controlled while her mind races underneath. Director Kwon. Her production company executive. The man who approved this trip. Who pushed specifically for the Seon-ho angle when she proposed 3 other documentary subjects first. How long has she been working for him? The elevator opens. She walks through the lobby. Through the glass doors. Into the Seoul night air. She calls Celeste. I need you to pull everything you have on Director Kwon, she says. Tonight. Right now. A pause. Zuri, what happened? Everything, Celeste. Please. She hangs up. Behind her, in the security room on the 14th floor, Byung-soo watches her leave on the camera feed. His jaw is tight. Beside him, Seon-ho stands with his hands in his pockets watching the same screen. Watching her walk into the night. His expression is unreadable in the way that Byung-soo has learned over 10 years, means something is happening underneath it that Seon-ho is not ready to name yet. She didn't know, Taeyong says quietly from the corner. Neither man responds. Hyung, Taeyong says. She didn't know Kwon sent her. Seon-ho is quiet for a long time. I know, he says finally. He says nothing else. But he doesn't take his eyes off the screen until Zuri disappears completely from every camera's reach, and even then, he stands there one moment longer. Like a man who has just realized something he cannot unrealize. Like a man who is, for the first time in his adult life, entirely off balance. Director Kwon used Zuri to get to Seon-ho. Chairman Ho is using Kwon. And Seon-ho, the man every soul in Seoul's underworld fears, is standing in a dark room watching a camera feed of an empty street. Because a woman with wild cows and a fearless camera walked out into the night. And he is not, for the first time, indifferent to where she goes. Celeste doesn't sleep. By 2 a.m. she has every document spread across the hotel bed, digital files on her laptop, printed pages covering every surface, cold coffee going untouched at her elbow. Mika fell asleep sitting up around midnight but woke herself at 1 a.m. and has been sitting quietly beside Celeste ever since, because Mika is loud and chaotic but she knows when something is serious. Zuri sits on the floor with her back against the bed, knees pulled up, waiting. At 2:47 a.m. Celeste says, got it. Director Kwon has been running a quiet, careful operation for 3 years. On the surface, respected media executive. Produced 4 award-winning documentaries. Clean reputation. Generous donor to 2 universities. Underneath, he has been feeding information to Chairman Ho's organization through a chain of 3 shell companies, each one buried carefully inside legitimate business structures. What Chairman Ho wants, what he has always wanted, is evidence. Documented, filmable, undeniable evidence of Seon-ho's underground operations that he can use, not to go to police. Chairman Ho has no interest in police, but as leverage. Permanent, crushing leverage that would hand him control of every territory Seon-ho currently holds. A documentary crew with real access was the most elegant solution anyone had proposed in years. And Zuri, talented, fearless, with a genuine journalism reputation that would get her through doors that stayed locked for everyone else, was the perfect instrument. Kwon never told her. He let her believe the access was coincidence, opportunity, her own skill opening the right doors at the right time. Celeste finishes laying it out. The room is very quiet. Mika speaks first. That man used you. Zuri says nothing for a long time. She is looking at the floor and her expression is the one Mika and Celeste have seen maybe 4 times in their entire friendship, the expression that means something has been hurt that Zuri will not let herself cry about yet. The footage, Zuri says quietly. Everything I filmed. He has access to the raw files through the production server. Celeste nods slowly. I already disconnected your account. Nothing new has uploaded since 11 p.m. Zuri looks up at her. I did it the second I found the connection, Celeste says simply. Your footage is yours. Zuri closes her eyes briefly. Opens them. Seon-ho knows, she says. That's what the call was. He already knows about Kwon. Which means, Mika says carefully, he knows you were sent. He thinks I was sent, Zuri corrects quietly. There's a difference. Is there? Celeste asks. Not cruelly. Just carefully. From where he's standing. From where he's standing I look like exactly what Kwon designed me to look like, Zuri says. Her voice is steady. Her hands are not. Which means tomorrow morning I have to walk back into that building and... Zuri. Mika moves off the bed and sits beside her on the floor. Takes both her hands. You don't have to do anything tomorrow. We can leave. Tonight. Pack right now and... I'm not leaving, Zuri says. Mika and Celeste exchange a look over her head. The look that means, this stopped being about the documentary a while ago and all three of us know it. Okay, Mika says quietly. Squeezes her hands once. Then we're not leaving. Celeste closes her laptop. I'll have full documentation of Kwon's connection to Chairman already by morning. Everything traceable, everything sourced. Zuri looks at her two best friends in the middle of a Seoul hotel room at 3 a.m. and feels something so large and complicated move through her chest that she has no name for it. I'm sorry, she says. I dragged you both into. Stop, Mika says firmly. We dragged ourselves. You know we dragged ourselves. I did pack extra clothes, Celeste adds. Despite everything, Zuri laughs. Small and exhausted and real. Get some sleep, Celeste says. Tomorrow is going to be a lot. She is, as always, absolutely correct. Zuri arrives at the building at 9 a.m. exactly. She looks the same as every other morning, curls loose, camera bag over one shoulder, coffee in hand. She has spent 20 minutes in the hotel mirror reminding herself that she is not guilty of anything and she will not walk in looking like she is. Byung-soo meets her at the elevator. Unusual. He wants to see you, he says. Good morning to you too, Zuri says. He doesn't respond. Leads her to the elevator. Seon-ho's office. He is behind his desk this time, not at the window, not standing. Seated, composed, the full authority of the space organized around him like armor. There are no coffee cups today. The room feels different. Smaller. Byung-soo closes the door behind her. Zuri sits without being asked. Sets her camera bag on the floor. Folds her hands on her knees. Seon-ho looks at her. How long, he says quietly, have you been working for Kwon? Since he hired me 3 years ago, Zuri says. As a documentary filmmaker. That's the only capacity I've ever worked for him in. He sent you here specifically. He suggested this subject, yes. I thought it was my idea originally, he was careful about that. She holds his gaze. I found out last night what he actually wanted from this project. I imagine you know more about that than I do. A pause. You disconnected the production server, he says. Zuri blinks. How do you? I've been monitoring Kwon's data access points for 6 weeks, Seon-ho says simply. Since before you arrived. She stares at him. You knew, she says slowly. Before I walked into this building the first day, you already knew about Kwon. He says nothing. Which is an answer. Then why, Zuri says, and her voice is very controlled, did you give us access? Why bring me inside at all if you knew I was connected to him? Seon-ho is quiet for a long moment. He looks at her with those dark, Still eyes on Zuri has the sensation she has had several times in this building, of being seen more completely than is comfortable. Because you want him, Seon-ho says finally. The room is very quiet. I watched you for 3 days before I made contact, he continues. Asterisk, your footage. Your methods. The way you work. Asterisk a pause. Kwon sent a filmmaker. But you came as yourself. Those are not the same thing. Zuri's chest does something complicated. That's a significant risk, she says carefully. Letting someone inside your operation on the theory that they have good intentions. I don't operate on theories, he says. I operate on information. He opens a folder on his desk. Slides it across to her. She looks down. It is everything. Her full background, career, family, education, published work, financial records, every documentary she has ever made. Clean. Honest. Every single one. You investigated me, she says. Before I let anyone near anything that matters, he says, I know exactly who they are. She should feel invaded. She recognizes that she should feel invaded. Instead, and this is the inconvenient part, she feels something dangerously close to sin. So what happens now, she asks. Seon-ho closes the folder. Now Kwon becomes a problem I handle. Your footage is yours, I have no interest in it. A pause. The documentary access continues if you want it. Zay stares at him. You still want me to film here? After all of this? I want, Seon-ho says, and the word want sounds different in his mouth than any business language that came before it, what I decided I wanted the night you pointed a camera at me in that alley and didn't lower it. The silence that follows is the loudest silence this office has ever held. And what's that? Zay asks quietly. He holds her gaze for a long steady moment. For you to stay, he says simply. 3 days after the Kwon conversation, Mika is followed. She notices it the way Mika notices most things, loudly and immediately and with zero attempt to be subtle about it. She is at a cafe 2 blocks from the hotel when she clocks the same man for the 3rd time in 40 minutes, different tables, same face, same jacket, same careful non-looking that is the clearest possible form of looking. She texts Celeste under the table. Being followed. Dark jacket. Near the window. Don't look up. Celeste, sitting across from her, looks up immediately. I said don't. I needed to see him, Celeste says quietly. She takes one calm sip of her coffee. Opens her phone. I'm texting Zay. Should we run? Absolutely not. Running confirms we know. Celeste types carefully. We finish our coffee. We walk back to the hotel normally. We do not run. And if he follows us back? Then we have his face on the cafe security camera, the street camera outside, and my phone which I have been holding at a completely casual selfie angle for the last 4 minutes. Mika stares at her. Celeste. You're actually terrifying. I know, Celeste says serenely. Drink your coffee. Zay gets the text in the middle of a filming session. She reads it once. Reads it again. Then she does something she has not done yet in all the weeks of careful professional navigation. She walks directly to Seon-ho's office without being summoned. Byung-soo steps in front of her at the door. He's in her. My friends are being followed, Zay says. Byung-soo goes still. Move, says Seon-ho's voice from inside the office. Byung-soo moves. She shows him Celeste photos. The man's face. Seon-ho looks at the image for approximately 2 seconds. Something shifts in him, not visibly, not dramatically. Just a subtle change in the quality of his stillness. Like a temperature drop. Chairman Ho, he says quietly. Your rival. Yes. He's using my friends to get to you. Yes. Zuri looks at him directly. Can he hurt them? Seon-ho meets her eyes. Not while I'm breathing. He says it the way he says everything, quietly, without performance. Which somehow makes it land heavier than any dramatic declaration could. He picks up his phone. Makes one call. Speaks in fast, low Korean she can now follow about 60% of, enough to understand that within the next hour, two of his most trusted people will be outside her hotel and everywhere her friends go until this is resolved. He hangs up. They'll have protection by the time you get back, he says. Zuri stands across his desk looking at this man, dangerous, tattooed, complicated, who investigated her before he trusted her and brought her coffee before he admitted anything and just deployed his people to protect her friends without being asked twice. Thank you, she says quietly. He nods once. She turns to leave. Zuri. She turns back. He is looking at her with the expression she has been trying to decode for weeks, the one that lives just beneath the surface of all his composure. You came straight to me, he says. Not an accusation. Almost like he is saying it to himself as much as to her. Yes, she says simply. Not to the police. Not to your embassy. No. Why? She holds his gaze. Because I trust you, she says. 3 words. Quiet. Certain. The expression on Seon-ho's face in the moment after she says it, Byung-soo, watching from the doorway, will think about it for weeks. He has known Seon-ho since they were 19 years old. He has seen him in boardrooms and back alleys and moments no one else survived to describe. He has never seen him look like that. Like something locked has just, quietly, irrevocably, opened. It is raining in Seoul. The kind of heavy, warm rain that turns the city into a blur of lights and reflections, that makes every street look like something from a film. Zuri is on the covered terrace of the building at 9 p.m. She should have left an hour ago, but the rain started and she stayed to watch it and then stayed longer because she was thinking. She hears the terrace door. Seon-ho. He stands beside her at the railing, not close, not far. They both look at the rain-blurred city for a moment without speaking. This is something that has developed between them over weeks, a comfort with silence that feels more intimate than most people's conversations. Byung-soo thinks I should send you home, he says. I know, Zuri says. He told me himself this morning. What did you say? I told him I'd think about it. Are you? No. A bit. Rain on the city. This is getting complicated, Seon-ho says quietly. It was always going to get complicated, Zuri says. You knew that when you let me in. I knew it before that, he says. She turns to look at him. He is looking at the city, just set, the rainlight catching the ink on his forearms where his sleeves are rolled. Seon-ho. He turns. They are closer than they have stood before. Close enough that she can see the detail of the tattoo that curls up the left side of his neck, something she has been determinedly not looking at directly for weeks because looking at it directly felt like a door she wasn't ready to open. She looks at it now. Then up at his face. What does this one mean, she asks. Reaches up, slowly, giving him every opportunity to step back, and touches the edge of the ink at his neck with 2 fingertips. He goes very still. Not a dangerous still. A different kind. The stillness of someone absorbing something through the skin. It's my mother's name, he says quietly. In old script. Her fingers trace it lightly. His eyes stay on her face. And this one? She moves to his forearm, the sharp geometric lines she has been filming for weeks from professional distance. Every territory I took, he says. 1 line for each. That's a lot of lines, she says softly. It was a long road, he says. Her hand rests on his forearm. Neither of them moves. You're not filming right now, he says. Low. Quiet. No, she agrees. So who are you being right now? The filmmaker or? Just me, she says. Right now I'm just me. Something in him shifts completely. He lifts his hand and touches her hair, just the edge of it, one curl at her temple, with the kind of careful deliberateness that makes it clear he has been thinking about doing exactly this for a very long time. I don't do this, he says quietly. I don't let people. I know, she says. This is not something I know how to be careful with, he says. And for the first time since she has known him, there is something unguarded in his voice, something that causes him to say. Then don't be careful, Zuri says softly. He looks at her for one long moment. Then his hand moves from her hair to her face, tattooed fingers against her cheek, tilting her face up, and he kisses her with the quiet devastating thoroughness of a man who has been holding something back for weeks and has simply, finally, decided to stop. She kisses him back with both hands in his shirt and all the fearlessness that has defined her since the night she pointed a camera at him in a dark alley and refused to lower it. The rain comes down over Seoul. Below them the city moves, dangerous and beautiful and entirely indifferent. Up here on the terrace, the man everyone in this city fears is kissing a woman who never once feared him. And he is, for the first time in as long as he can remember, exactly where he wants to be. Down in the security room, Byung-soo watches the terrace camera feed go to static, a small, deliberate electronic interruption that lasts exactly as long as it needs to. He looks at Taeyong. Taeyong is trying extremely hard not to smile. You did that, Byung-soo says flatly. The camera malfunctioned, Taeyong says innocently. Taeyong. Byung-soo Hyung. A very long pause. Good, Byung-soo says quietly. And turns back to the other screens. Seoul wakes up golden. Zuri is back at the hotel by midnight, Seon-ho's car, Seon-ho's driver, and a text from Seon-ho himself at 12:47 a.m. that simply says, "You're inside." She stares at it for a long time before she understands he doesn't mean the building. She types back, "So are you?" 3 minutes pass. Then, I know. She falls asleep with her phone on her chest and a smile she doesn't bother hiding because Mika and Celeste are asleep and there is no one to tease her about it. Mika absolutely notices in the morning. "You're glowing," she says immediately, squinting over her coffee cup at Zuri across the hotel breakfast table. "I'm not. You are physically luminescent right now." Mika. "Something happened on that terrace. We talked." Zuri Ife Davis, Mika says, setting her coffee down with ceremony, "I have known you for 9 years. That is not your topped face. That is your something significantly better than topped face." Celeste looks up from her laptop. Studies Zuri for exactly 2 seconds. Finally, she says simply. And goes back to her laptop. Zuri buries her face in her hands. "We are not, it's complicated." "It's always complicated," Mika says warmly, reaching over to squeeze her arm. "That's how you know it's real." At 9:23 a.m. Zuri's phone rings. Director Kwon. She looks at his name on the screen. Mika and Celeste both go still across the table. She answers. "Zuri." His voice is smooth. Practiced. The voice she has heard for 3 years and trusted entirely. "I hear the project is going well." "It is," she says carefully. "I'm glad. I wanted to check in personally, see if you'd had a chance to capture any of the more operational aspects of the organization. The investors are very interested in authentic behind-the-scenes content." Investors. The word lands like a stone. "Not yet," Zuri says. "The access has been limited to public-facing operations." A pause. "Perhaps you could push for more. You've clearly built rapport with the subject. I've seen the dailies you uploaded before the server disconnection." Another pause. Deliberate. "Technical issue, was it?" "Yes," Zuri says. "We are working on it." "Good. Do push for deeper access, Zuri." The real story is never on the ground floor. He hangs up. Zuri sets the phone down. He's watching us, Celeste says quietly. He's been watching us, Zuri corrects. She picks up her camera bag. Stands. I need to get to the building. She never makes it. She is half a block from the hotel when the black car pulls up. Not Seon-ho's car, she knows his cars now, knows the plates, knows the particular way his drivers move. This is different. Two men get out before it fully stops. Suits. Quiet. The specific kind of quiet that has nothing to do with politeness. Miss Davis, the taller one says. Chairman Ho would like a word. Zuri doesn't run. Running, she has learned in 12 episodes of this life, only tells people what you're afraid of. I have a filming schedule, she says. It won't take long. She looks at them both. Calculates. Then she does the thing that saves her. She takes out her phone openly, makes direct eye contact with the security camera mounted on the building across the street, and types one word to Seon-ho. Oh. Miss Davis. I'll come, she says. But you should know that message just sent. The two men exchange a look. They put her in the car anyway. He receives her in a private dining room above his Itaewon club, all dark wood and soft lighting and the particular atmosphere of a man who wants you to feel that everything is civilized. He is exactly as she imagined from Celeste's research, silver-haired, elegant, wearing his age and his power like a well-cut suit. He gestures to the seat across from him. Miss Davis. Thank you for coming. I didn't have enormous choice, she says pleasantly, sitting down. He smiles. I like directness. Please, tea. No thank you. He pours for himself. Unbothered. You are a remarkable young woman. Your work is extraordinary. The piece you did on the pharmaceutical corruption in Chicago, I watched it 3 times. I'm glad it found an audience, Zuri says. A woman of your talent deserves real stories, he says. Not curated access to a man's legitimate business front. He sets his cup down. I can give you the real story. Everything. Documented. Sourced. The kind of exposé that defines careers. In exchange for whatever footage you have. Access to whatever you've seen inside that building. Zuri looks at him steadily. And if I say no? Chairman Ho's smile doesn't change. It just becomes something different beneath the surface. Your friends have been enjoying Seoul. It would be a shame if that enjoyment became complicated. The room is very quiet. That, Zuri says, her voice completely even, is a threat. It's a reality, he says gently. I have long arms, Miss Davis. And you are a long way from home. Zuri looks at this man, old and silver and surgical, and feels something crystallize inside her completely. She stands. I'm going to leave now, she says. And you should know that everything you just said to me is on audio. She holds up her camera bag. Force of habit. I record everything. For the first time, something moves behind Chairman Ho's composed eyes. I'd also like my footage back, she continues. The dailies pulled before I disconnected the server. I know you have copies. She picks up her bag. You'll be hearing from someone about that. She walks to the door. Miss Davis, Chairman Ho says behind her. The smooth civility is mostly gone now. You are making a very dangerous mistake. She opens the door. No, she says quietly. You made yours the night you put 2 men outside my hotel. She walks out. He meets her on the street outside. She rounds the corner from the club and he is already there, no jacket, sleeves up, both hands visible, with Byung-soo 6 steps behind him and 2 cars pulled up against the cab. He got her text 22 minutes ago and she will learn later that he was already moving before he finished reading it. When he sees her, unharmed, walking toward him with her chin up and her curls loose and her camera bag on her shoulder like she just came from a normal shoot. Something moves across his face that is not composure and is not calculation. It is relief. Raw and unguarded and completely uncharacteristic. She walks straight to him. "I'm fine," she says. "I know," he says. His eyes move over her once, checking, cataloging, then settle on her face. "I got audio," she says. "Full admission. Threat on record. It's enough." Something shifts in his expression. Not surprise, he has never underestimated her. But something adjacent to fierce, quiet pride. His hand comes up and touches her face, tattooed fingers against her cheek, right there on the Seoul street, in front of Byung-soo and the drivers and the city going about its morning entirely indifferent to the fact that the most feared man in Seoul's underworld is standing on a public pavement looking at a woman like she is the only solid thing in his world. "You walked in there alone," he says quietly. "I had my recorder," she says. "Zuri. I sent you the text. You sent me one word. It was enough. You came." He looks at her for a long, unreadable moment. Then, "Don't do that again. I can't promise." "I'm not asking you to stop being who you are," he says. "Low. Serious. I'm asking you not to walk into a room with that man without me knowing the full plan." She holds his gaze. "Okay," she says quietly. "Deal." His thumb moves once against her cheek. Then his hand drops and he steps back into the version of himself that the street requires, composed, contained, already thinking 3 moves ahead. "The audio goes to my legal team today," he says. "Combined with what I have on Kwon and Ho's financial chain, it ends them." "Legally?" she asks. He looks at her. "You want it legal?" "I want it permanent," she says. "Legal is permanent," he says. "When done right." She nods. "Then yes. Legal." He almost smiles. The corner of his mouth. The fraction she has learned to watch for. "Come," he says. "There's work to do." Director Kwon is arrested on a Tuesday. Financial fraud. Conspiracy. Breach of fiduciary duty to 3 different production companies he had been using as information pipelines for 6 years. The evidence package, assembled by Celeste Research, Zay's audio recording, and Seon-ho's 6 weeks of monitored data, is so thorough that his lawyers advise him to cooperate within 48 hours. Chairman Ho is quieter but more complete. 3 of his shell companies freeze the same morning. 2 board members of his legitimate holding group resign by noon. He is not arrested. Men like Chairman Ho never are, not immediately, but he is reduced. Declawed. The long arms Zuri was threatened with are folded permanently behind his back. Byung-soo delivers the news to Seon-ho in 4 words: "Ho is handled. Clean." Seon-ho nods once. That is all. Mika books her flight home on a Wednesday. She stands in the hotel room with her overstuffed suitcase and her eyes suspiciously bright and pulls Zay into a hug that lasts long enough to mean everything. "Come home soon," she says into Zay's curls. "I will," Zay says. "Or don't," Mika says, pulling back, wiping her eye with zero shame. "Stay here and be a whole dark romance novel. I support either outcome fully." Zoe laughs. Celeste hugs her last. "Shorter. Tighter." "I was right about everything," Celeste says quietly into her shoulder. "You were right about everything," Zay confirms. "I packed enough clothes." "You packed enough clothes." They hold on for another moment. "He's good for you," Celeste says quietly. "I didn't think he would be. But he is." Zay says nothing. Just holds her tighter for 1 more second. Then they are gone, down the elevator, into a car, off to the airport, and Zoe stands in a suddenly quiet hotel room in Seoul with her camera bag over her shoulder and her whole life rearranged around something she didn't come here looking for. She finds him on the terrace. their terrace, she has started thinking of it, the place where Seoul spreads below and rain or shine the city looks like something worth filming. He is where he always is, at the railing, one hand in his pocket, looking out. She stands beside him. Their arms touching. Mika and Celeste got off okay, she says. I know. I had someone confirm. She turns to look at him. You tracked my friends to the airport. I tracked them safely to the airport, he corrects. He shakes her head. But she is smiling. The documentary, she says. I've been thinking about it. Tell me. I'm not going to make the one Kwon wanted. Obviously. She looks out at the city. But I have weeks of footage. Real footage, your staff, your building, the city. The surface of something enormous and human underneath it. She pauses. I want to make something honest. Not expose. Not puff piece. Just, true. About what? About Seoul, she says. About the distance between what cities show the world and what they actually are. A pause. I'd need more time here. Seon-ho is quiet. Then, how much more time? She turns to look at him fully. Enough to do it right. He holds her gaze. In his eyes, dark and still and no longer hiding what lives in them when he looks at her, is everything he does not say in words. Everything a man like him communicates through action and presence, and the way he showed up on a street outside a dangerous man's club with no jacket and everything already in motion. He reaches out. Tucks one claw behind her ear with careful tattooed fingers. Stay, he says quietly. One word. The same word he said weeks ago across a desk in a room full of professional distance. It means something different now. It means, stay in Seoul. Stay in this building. Stay in whatever this is that neither of us planned and both of us chose anyway. Zuri looks at him, this complicated, dangerous, surprisingly tender man with ink on his skin and a city at his feet and her name in his mouth like it belongs there. Okay, she says. He pulls her into him, one arm around her, solid and certain, her head against his chest, his chin resting on her curls. They stand like that on the terrace while Seoul moves below them in all its beautiful, complicated life. Her camera hangs at her side. For once, she is not filming. For once, she is simply in the story. Somewhere across the city, in a small Itaewon apartment, Taeyong gets a text from Byung-soo. She's staying. Taeyong reads it. Smiles the good smile, the young one, the real one. Types back, I know. He told me. A pause. Then Byung-soo again. He told you. He smiled, young. Another pause. Longer. He smiled. First time I've ever seen it. A real one. The longest pause yet. Then, good. Just that. Good. Please like and subscribe to this channel if this story got you hooked till the end. Drop a comment and tell us what you found interesting about this story.